And welcome back. We have got more daily best bets here for college basketball. Yesterday, wasn't our best day, but, we had 5 games to choose from. So we were literally, we were forced to make a pick on every single game. I told you the game I think the best about yesterday. I thought at the time I felt the best about was the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Indiana Hoosiers, and Indiana did pull that one off. Yeah, we had rough sledding with Norfolk State, and then the game with South Carolina State and Charleston Southern. But again, that just, we had tough games to pick yesterday. Now we get a full slate. We get actually pick the games we want to bet on today, and I feel a lot better about these 5 today than I did yesterday. So before we get into the predictions, folks, the best bets, folks, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we will have our NBA predictions as well on the channel. The in-season tournament knockout round starts today, so you got the Milwaukee Bucks at home against the Orlando Magic, and then you've also got the Dallas Mavericks at home against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So make sure to check out that video. Again, that's going to drop in an hour. Our PFL Europe predictions were posted yesterday. We got the Lazy King taking on Laureano Staropoli in the main event from France. Then also we posted our UFC Fight Night Tampa Bay predictions with Colby Chaos Covington and Joaquin Buckley in the main event, again in the UFC. And also, folks, go make sure to join, or make sure to check out the 20,000 subscriber special video, but more importantly, go make sure to join the 20,000 subscriber giveaway. It is for $100 and it is absolutely free to enter. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel on YouTube and follow Greedo Plays YT on Instagram. If you do both those things, you'll be automatically entered in the giveaway, and we'll draw a winner on Saturday. So you still got some time to enter, but do it. It is absolutely free to enter the $100 giveaway for 20,000 subscribers. Okay, let's get into our first game of 5 today. We start things off here with this neutral site game being played, I believe, in the Garden. Yes, at Madison Square Garden. You've got the #1 ranked Tennessee Volunteers taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Yes, normally I don't like playing these huge lines, but in this game I do, because that's how bad the Miami Hurricanes have been. It's that simple. That's how bad Miami's been of late, and we're taking the Tennessee Volunteers to go in here and win this game. We're taking them to blow out Miami. Tennessee's been the best team in college basketball this season. I know for a while I was telling you, it's probably Auburn. Gonzaga for a while as well was playing really well this season. But right now it does feel like it is Tennessee. Tennessee is the only high-ranked undefeated team. You've got Florida as well, and Oklahoma. The SEC is absolutely stacked this season. That goes without saying. But Tennessee right now does feel like the best team in college basketball. Again, yes, you got those other schools in the SEC, but right now it feels like it is the Tennessee Volunteers, considering the teams that they played this season and the way they beat these teams as well. You look at their win over Louisville, beating them by 22 points, beating Baylor by 15 points, beating Syracuse in their last game by 26 points as well. They've gone out there to beat Virginia by 22. They've been able to go out here and absolutely dominate teams. That is the reason why the Volunteers, again, are the #1 ranked team in the country. Chaz Lanier's been leading the charge with 19 points a game. Igor Milic with 12.5. You get Zakai Ziegler, who's averaging 12, Jordan Gainey averaging 10.5. Tennessee's been real solid this year, man, and they're taking on the Miami Hurricanes, who have lost 6 games in a row. That's why we're taking Tennessee to cover this huge line. Miami has lost 6 in a row, and listen to the teams they have lost to. We talked about Charleston Southern yesterday and how we thought they were going to go on the road and win. Well, they didn't, but at the same time, they beat Miami by 4 points. Yeah, that same Charleston Southern Buccaneers team, they lost to Miami, they beat Miami on the road 83-79. Miami won their first 3 games. FDU, Bennington, Copen State, and then they lost to Drake, OK State, VCU, Charleston Southern, Arkansas, Clemson. That's brutal. That's absolutely brutal for the Miami Hurricanes. And yeah, again, they haven't lost a game by 16 points yet, but now look who they're playing. If they're losing by 11 points to Drake, if they're losing by 7 points to VCU, 10 points against Clemson, they're going to get blown out by right now the best team in the country. Because if Tennessee can't blow them out, there's something wrong here. I get it, it's in a neutral site, they're in New York, but Tennessee's the much better team. That goes without saying. Miami's just been bad this season. There's really no other way to put it. Nigel Pack's been leading the charge with 14 points a game. Jalen Blackman with 11. Lynn Kidd averaging 10.5. But no, the Tennessee Volunteers are by far the better team in this basketball game, and it's really not that close. I think this game's a complete blowout. I think Tennessee is 10 times the team Miami is. Obviously, again, Tennessee undefeated. They've won every single game they've played this season, and when they've played other power schools, they've blown them out. They've played the ECC twice this season. They beat Louisville by 22 points, and they beat Virginia by 22 points. They played Syracuse too. They beat them by 26. And you can argue those teams are better than Miami this year in the ACC. Definitely. I think Louisville's better. I do think Louisville's better than Miami. Is Syracuse, is Virginia? Probably. But still, Tennessee should do the same thing to Miami that they did to Virginia, that they did to Louisville, and that they did to Syracuse. This is an absolute blowout. Tennessee will be up by 10 points at halftime, and they will completely pull away in the second half, and they'll win the game by about 20 points. Give me the Tennessee Volunteers, the number 1 ranked team in the country, to go in here, cover this huge line they get against the Miami Hurricanes. They'll cover the 16.5 and win the game outright as well. Next up, we go to another huge line. We go to Butler, Indiana, for the North Dakota State Bison taking on the Butler Bulldogs. Yes, we are picking against Butler here. Give me North Dakota State to cover the 14.5 points. We've taken NDSU a lot this season, and yes, we've taken the Summit League as a whole a lot this year as well, but I like this spot for NDSU. We've shied away from picking them recently. We picked them early in the season after their big win on the road at Santa Clara. They did lose a game to Southern Illinois. They lost to Samford. But since that loss to Samford, North Dakota State has won 4 in a row. At home against West Georgia. I know it's not a good team, but still, at home against West Georgia, a win over Utah Valley. They go to Weber State in Oregon and beat them, and they beat Northern Colorado in their last game by 12 points. Those are some good victories for NDSU. This is a solid basketball team, and I'll get fully in depth about the North Dakota State Bison in a second. But for the Butler Bulldogs, again, I'm still picking Butler to win the basketball game. I just feel like 14.5 points is too much. That's simply all I'm saying here. Butler, their last victory, beats an East Illinois team by 15 points. North Dakota State would beat East Illinois, and I don't think the game would be particularly close. East Illinois is not that great of a team. They're 3-6 this year, and their wins are to NIAA schools, and then Northern Illinois is their real only win this season. And Butler only beat them by 15, and what's the line we get on NDSU? 14.5. I don't think NDSU puts up a worse fight against Butler on the road in Indianapolis compared to what Eastern Illinois did. I really don't think so. Butler's other wins this season: Mississippi State, not a bad win. I mean, it's a good win. It was a ranked win. Northwestern, good win. Merrimack, they blow out. Merrimack sucks. Beat SMU by 11. Western Michigan by 20. It is what it is. Lost to Austin, PA earlier in the season, and then beat Missouri State by 7. I like the value we get here on the Bison of North Dakota State. Now, I've watched North Dakota State in person this year. I saw them play at Santa Clara. They won that game, obviously. They were like 20.5 point dogs. They ended up winning the game outright. Shout out to Jakari White. He's a baller. Jakari White, by far, is the best player on this team. He's averaging 17 points a game. You get Jackson Monty as well, who's averaging 8 points a game as well. He is playing the 4 for this team, I believe. He's a baller as well. He was hurt earlier in the season, but he's come back, and he's been playing really good basketball for this team during that Big Sky / Summit League Challenge, right? 32 points against Utah Valley, 22 against Weber, 18 against Northern Colorado. Jackson Monty's really turned it up as of late, and when you pair him again with their best player and their point guard, Jakari White, this is not a bad basketball team. I really don't think so. North Dakota State, again, I've kept track of the Summit League a lot over my years watching college basketball. South Dakota State and North Dakota State are the 2 best teams in this conference. I think they are. I think you can maybe look at South Dakota a little bit. I'll tell you a game that I was thinking about putting on this video. It's not on here. It's South Dakota's game. Yeah, South Dakota's game today against Wyoming. I thought about doing South Dakota minus 1.5. I'm staying away from it. I don't mind it. It's just Wyoming's got to go to South Dakota. I think it's a game that the Coyotes can win. I've been a big Summit League homer for a while. I'm going to stay away from that game. Instead, we're going to pick this one here at the Summit League. Again, I'm not even telling you North Dakota State's going to win the basketball game. I think they can. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to. I think there's a possibility they can. Again, we've seen them pull off big upset wins before on the road this season. Look at the Santa Clara victory. Look at the Weber State game. That was a game they were not expected to win. I believe they had to have been dogs that game. I think, right? I know Weber hasn't been lights out this season, but I would assume Weber were the favorites to start this game. ESPN's not showing me the odds. Weber was getting 5.5 in that game. So North Dakota State has pulled off big upset victories before the season. I don't think it's too outside the realm of possibilities that they straight up beat Butler, but 14.5 points just feels just wrong. Again, if they're only beating East Illinois by 15 points, North Dakota State should keep this game close, and they should keep this game within the single digits. So I like the Bison to keep competitive here with the Butler Bulldogs to go on the road to Indianapolis and cover the 14.5 points we get here at 3:30 on Tuesday. So give me North Dakota State to cover the 14.5 points. We are saying Butler wins the game, but honestly, again, I don't mind the line. I don't mind North Dakota State straight up winning the basketball game. I could see it. I'll be honest, I could see it. But give me NDSU to cover those 14.5 points. Next up, we go on to some Big Ten play. I know I said I was going to shy away from taking the Big Ten or looking for Big Ten spots, but you know what? I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm back with the Big Ten, of course, with our big victory yesterday with the Indiana Hoosiers, covering the 10.5 points and the 9.5 points they got against the worst team in the Big Ten. We're talking about the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So you know what? I feel like I'm back with the Big Ten. We're going to pick more Big Ten basketball. Give me the Penn State Nittany Lions on the road. Give me Penn State. We have picked against them their last 2 games. I completely understand that. But now we're taking them, okay? I'm not going to make it a third time's a charm with us picking against the Nittany Lions. Now we're hopping on. Why? I get playing on the road in the Big Ten is difficult. I understand it. I just don't think Rutgers is good. Okay? I think when you look at the Big Ten, I think the worst teams in this conference by far are Washington and Minnesota. And then I think you got to start looking at Rutgers as one of the other just kind of mid teams in this conference, or let's just face it, one of the bottom feeders in the Big Ten. Rutgers wasn't great last year. They weren't. They finished Big Ten play last year, I think it was losing 8 of 9. They won 1 game out of their last 9 in Big Ten play last year, and of course it was Michigan. And Michigan, again, was god-awful last year. They're much better this year, obviously, what we've seen at the Wolverines. So yeah, and Michigan plays Arkansas today. I thought about picking that game. I don't mind, honestly, Michigan minus 3.5, but I don't feel good enough to play it. So there's that. We're going to go again with this Big Ten action here. I'm taking Penn State to go on the road and beat Rutgers. I just don't think Rutgers is that great. They're coming off 3 straight losses. I get it. They're playing good teams, Bama, A&M. But going to Ohio State and getting obliterated by that Buckeyes team isn't the best. Why? Because Ohio State we saw get killed at Maryland. Then, of course, they come home and they, beat up on Rutgers. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, is it just, home teams in the Big Ten are doing real well? That is fair. It is fair, because I did take Purdue to go on the road to Penn State. But hear me out again. We saw a squad like Michigan State go on the road and beat Minnesota this year. It's not like, again, all the road teams are losing in the Big Ten this year. I feel like this is a spot for Penn State to win. I think, again, Rutgers is only gaining this respect on the line because the game is in New Jersey. I really think Penn State's just the better team. I really think they are. Rutgers feels like a 2-man operation, obviously, with Dylan Harper, with Ace Bailey. Once you get past their 2 guards, you really can't rely on anybody else to score. It is all Dylan Harper. It is all Ace Bailey. Both those guys play 34 minutes a night. Past them, it feels like everyone else just kind of in the shuffle. I'm serious. Ace Bailey leads the team in rebounds. He's their second leading scorer. Dylan Harper leads their team in points. He leads their team in assists. I mean, those guys are the entire team. I think Penn State wins this basketball game. They are the better all-around team. And again, I have been proven wrong in their last game against Purdue. I'm done hating on Penn State. I think this team's not bad. I said it going into that game. I said Ace Baldwin's going to need to have to carry the load for this Penn State team. Sure, he did do it at the free throw line, let's be honest. Like, he didn't, beat Purdue on the floor. He beat them at the line. But still, he was able to attack. He was able to find those, get to the free throw line. And if you got to give Penn State something, they shot their free throws extremely well at home. They went 28 for 32 at the line, which is, I get it, is a lot of free throws. And Ace Baldwin went 12 for 12. I get that. But I do think Penn State's able to, again, force the action. They're able to drive to the line or drive to the rim and to the line. And I think Penn State will win this basketball game. Again, they are the more all-around better team. Ace Baldwin, Puff Johnson, Zach Hicks, they've got players on this team that should be able to go out here and beat Rutgers. I know they're on the road, but I think they are the better squad. You got Nick Kern off the bench as well. I don't mind Penn State at all in this spot. I think they go to Rutgers, and I think they win the basketball game. We will get them at plus money here. So it's going to be Penn State to go on the road and to beat Rutgers. I get it. Going on the road and winning in the Big Ten is extremely difficult. But here, I just think Penn State's a better team. I just think they are. I mean, Penn State to beat Rutgers, a team that is, again, coming off of now losing 9 of 10 Big Ten. Their last 9 of 10, they've lost 9 of their 10. 9 of their last 10. God, English is tough sometimes. They've lost 9 out of their 10 games in the Big Ten going into this one. We are taking Penn State to remain undefeated in Big Ten play. They go to 2-0 in the Big Ten after a win on the road at Rutgers. Next up, we go on to the undefeated Rhode Island. Yes, there are very few undefeated teams in all of college basketball right now, but the Rhode Island Rams are one of them. They are 4.5-point favorites on the road at Brown, and I think they take care of it. Why? They have covered this line in every single win they have had this season. Every single win Rhode Island has had, they have covered this 4.5-point line. Right now, they are 9-0. Again, there are very limited teams that are undefeated right now in college basketball, but the Rhode Island Rams are one of them, and we get them against the Brown Bears. Now, Brown has won 5 in a row, but look at their wins. Sacred Heart, Canisius, Stony Brook, at Vermont, at Bryant. Winnable games. Winnable games. I mean, Brown had I believe it was a game winner against Bryant the other night. And Brown, again, this is the least of their concerns coming up. They have Kansas in a week, and then they go play Kentucky on New Year's Eve. But first up, they get Rhode Island. I get the game is at Brown, but I mean, what home court advantage are the Brown Bears going to have in the Ivy League? Let's just be honest. I get it again. Brown was a squad last year who shocked some people. They beat Princeton in the Ivy League tournament, but then they proceeded to lose by 1 point to Yale in the finals of that 4-team Ivy League tournament. Obviously, Yale then went on to go to the tournament. And yeah, Brown hasn't been bad this season, but again, Rhode Island is an undefeated squad. Brown is led by Keno Lilly Jr. He's averaging 20 points a game. You got Landon Lewis, who's averaging 15, and then Aaron Cooley, who is averaging 12.5. But Rhode Island, we've picked them before this season, and we're picking them again. We picked them in the Yale game last time they played in Ivy League school, and I think they should go on the road and beat Brown here again. They have covered this line every single game they've had this season. They're 9-0, and every single game that they've won by more than 5 points. I'd expect them to do it again. Sebastian Thomas, baller, averaging 17 points a game. David Green, averaging 17 as well. You get Jaden House, you get Jamarcus Lawrence. You've got other guys averaging 10 points, and Javonte Brown. Their entire starting five averages 10 points a game or more. This is a team that can score. It's a team that will shoot it from beyond the arc. They have a lot of good shooters on this team, and I do just think Rhode Island outpaces Brown in this basketball game. I think they're better. Again, Rhode Island is an undefeated team this season. I don't think Brown's the first one to beat them. And honestly, when we look at this Rhode Island schedule, they don't play a real, I'm not going to say competitive, but they don't play a really difficult team this entire season. They're not going undefeated, obviously. Like, someone will catch them in the A-10, whether it be a St. Bonaventure, whether it be a George Washington, or a Loyola Chicago, or Dayton, obviously. One of these teams will catch Rhode Island. But it's not happening now against Brown, and it's not happening after that when they play Central Connecticut. It's not happening when they play Temple, and I don't think it's happening when they go on the road to play Duquesne on New Year's Eve. I think this team will go into 2025 undefeated, and I think this is probably their biggest test. I get it, Duquesne, is a tough team to play on the road, but Duquesne's 2-7. I know they've got talent, but they are 2-7 at the end of the day. I think, and George Mason, 7-3 squad, but I do think Rhode Island could beat that team at home. So I truly think Rhode Island will be going into, the year of 2025, 14-0? And I think they pick up the victory here against Brown. They've got too many guys who can score. I don't think Brown's able to keep up. You get a Brown team that is led by Keno Lilly. I get it, but I do think Rhode Island is able to pick up the victory here. They've covered the 4.5 in every single game they've won so far this season, which means that's every game they've played this season. Give me the Rhode Island Rams to cover the 4.5 points and to go on the road to Brown and win the basketball game. As we go on to our final game of the day, we go to Providence versus DePaul, and we are taking DePaul to win the basketball game, and we are taking them to cover the 1.5 points as well at the Wintrust Arena, of course, in Chicago, Illinois. Providence has just been too shaky for my liking recently, and that's why we're fading them here. They've won 1 out their last 5. It's their home win against BYU, right? You look at their loss to Oklahoma at home by 2 points. Davidson went into Providence, Rhode Island, and beat them by 11 points. They lost to Indiana. Or was the Providence game, the Davidson game, that was neutral site, my fault. The Oklahoma game was neutral site. I knew the Indiana one was, but Oklahoma and Davidson were both neutral site games. They lost both of those, obviously, though. Lost to Indiana. They were the big losers of that tournament. Come back, beat BYU, but then they just went to Rhode Island and lost the game by 6 points. And I'm not hating on Rhode Island. I'm not, because, again, I just sung their praises for 5 minutes. But, again, Providence is coming off a road loss to Rhode Island, and now they got to go on the road to play the DePaul Demons. I get it, DePaul lost their last game on the road to Texas Tech, but prior to that, again, 7-0. We've seen them before this season in the Southern Indiana game. I know they barely got by the Screaming Eagles in that one, but this is a team that's just been winning basketball games. Out the Big East, I know, again, DePaul is not, projected to win this thing this season. I understand that. They were a squad that did not win a single game in the Big East. I get that last season. They were 0-20. They were 3-29. I completely get that. But they've been playing better basketball this season. They have regrouped in the portal. They regrouped in the offseason. Jacob Myers has been playing well this year. Isaiah Rivera have led the charge for his DePaul team, and they don't play horrible defense either. And this is by far their biggest test of the season, other than, of course, the Texas Tech game. I think they're able to bounce back and win. Again, Providence has to go on the road to play DePaul. And we have seen Providence struggle on the road this season. Again, the one game they have played on the road, other than a neutral site game, was the Rhode Island game, and they lost. They're coming off that loss at Rhode Island. I think they take another one here against the DePaul Demons. Blue Demons, excuse me. I think it's going to be a close game, but again, when we get even odds for this, I do like the home team in this spot, especially because we have seen Providence just lose too many games. And their wins at the beginning of the season: Central Connecticut, Stonehill, Hampton, Green Bay, Delaware State. Nothing really notable at the wins for Providence. And then look what they've done recently. Again, 3 straight losses in their tournament to Oklahoma, Davidson, Indiana, beating BYU, okay, and then losing on the road to Rhode Island. I'm not sold on the Friars right now, man. I'm not. They are without their best player right now, I believe. Yeah, Bryce Hopkins is still out, right? Oh, no, Bryce Hopkins is back now. Oh. Still, I mean, they needed Bryce Hopkins back, but even when Hopkins played the Rhode Island game, they lost. Jaden Pierre, all right, averaging 13 points a game. Bensley Joseph. So I get, yeah, Bryce Hopkins is back, but they are 1-1 with Hopkins back in the lineup. I don't think that ultimately changes too much. I do think DePaul is still able to win this basketball game at home. We are taking the squad out here out of the Big East. They're both in the Big East. But still, we're taking DePaul to win their first conference game. Again, they got smacked in the Big East last season. They lost every single game. This is a huge reset for the DePaul Blue Demons. Again, 0-20 last year in conference. I don't know how many in a row they lost the year before in 2022, 2023. They beat Seton Hall. So, okay, they 21 consecutive losses in the Big East. I think DePaul breaks it here. Give me the DePaul Blue Demons to finally win a Big East game, and they will win at home against a struggling Providence team. It feels like DePaul's kind of surging. I understand the loss against the Red Raiders, but it feels like they're kind of surging, and it feels like Providence, again, is going through one. So I'm taking the DePaul Blue Demons to win at home. I believe they're favorites, right? We're getting -1.5. Yes, give me the -1.5 / -125 favorites, the DePaul Blue Demons to win at home here against the Providence Friars. So folks, thank y'all for watching our best bets here for December 10th for college basketball. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily best bets here on the channel. Make sure to join us in an hour for our NBA in-season tournament knockout round predictions. And again, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video, comment if you do disagree with any of the picks, and make sure to join the $100 20,000 subscriber giveaway. It is absolutely free to do. All you gotta do is follow the first link in the description down below to follow the Instagram and subscribe to the channel to be automatically entered. So folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.